The conference room at Joint Base Harborview was built to intimidate. Polished steel walls, flags aligned to the millimeter, a long table that seemed to stretch forever. Every chair was filled with uniforms that carried history in their stitching. Lieutenant Commander Aisha Rahman entered last. She paused just long enough to straighten her posture, not out of nerves, but habit.
Calm. Precise.
Controlled. The kind of composure forged by years of pressure where mistakes were not forgiven. Across the table, a tall man in desert camo leaned back in his chair. His trident pin caught the overhead light. Chief Petty Officer Mark Havoc Klein, Navy SEAL. He glanced at her insignia, then smirked. Lieutenant Commander, he muttered, not bothering to lower his voice. Did they run out of real officers today? A few heads turned. A few uncomfortable chuckles followed. No one corrected him. Aisha didn't react. She took her seat, folded her hands, and looked straight ahead at the large digital screen, classified mission details locked behind red warning banners. Her expression remained unreadable, but she heard everything.
She always did.
Klein continued, emboldened by the silence. No offense, ma'am, he added, dripping sarcasm, but I thought this briefing was supposed to be serious. Still, she said nothing. That was when the door opened again. The sound was soft, but every officer in the room stood instantly. 4 stars entered first, then another, then 2 more. For generals, the atmosphere shifted like gravity itself had changed. Klein shot to his feet, color draining from his face. The generals didn't look at him. They stopped in front of Aisha Rahman. And then, without hesitation, every one of them raised a hand in a sharp, unmistakable salute. Permission to proceed, ma'am, the senior general said. The room froze. Aisha finally stood. She returned the salute with flawless precision. Granted, she replied calmly. Only then did she turn her eyes toward the SEAL who had mocked her moments before. Her voice was steady, professional, quiet. Let's begin the briefing. And just like that, everyone understood. This meeting had never been about rank. It was about who truly commanded the room. The screen behind Aisha flickered to life. Satellite images snapped into place, mountain ranges, red threat markers, timestamps scrolling in classified code. Conversations died instantly. Even the generals shifted their stance, attention fixed forward. This operation has failed 3 times, Aisha began. Her voice wasn't loud, yet it carried to every corner of the room. Each failure cost lives. Each failure followed the same tactical doctrine. She tapped the control pad. 3 red X's appeared on the map. Chief Klein swallowed hard. He recognized those zones. Everyone did. Ghost Valley. A place SEAL teams joked about only because fear was easier to hide behind humor. Standard insertion routes, Aisha continued. Predictable exfil points, over-reliance on air superiority. She paused, then added, the enemy adapted faster than we did. One of the generals nodded slowly. Klein crossed his arms, defensive. With respect, ma'am, he said carefully this time, that terrain eats special forces alive. There's a reason those plans failed. Aisha met his gaze, calm, unflinching. And that, she said, is why you're all here. She changed the slide. The new map looked wrong. No standard routes. No textbook formations. Instead, thin blue lines wound through terrain most units avoided entirely. Steep ravines, collapsed tunnels, weather corridors too unstable for drones. This approach doesn't exist in any field manual, she said. Because I wrote it. A murmur rippled through the room. One general folded his hands behind his back. Lieutenant Commander Rahman developed this framework during joint black site simulations, he said. Every time we tested it, the opposing force never saw it coming. Klein's jaw tightened. Aisha continued. We don't fight their strength. We disappear into their blind spots. No air insertion. No signals. No electronic footprint. A SEAL at the far end frowned. That's suicide. Aisha shook her head slightly.
No.
It's survival, but it requires discipline, silence, and absolute trust in command. Her eyes swept the room. Which brings me to why this room is restricted to personnel with operational egos strong enough to be set aside. The words landed like a blade. Klein felt it. Everyone did. The senior general stepped forward. Chief Klein, he said evenly, your team will execute Phase 1. Klein stiffened. Yes, sir. He hesitated, then looked at Aisha. Ma'am, he said, choosing each word carefully now. If this works, that changes how we fight. Aisha nodded once. It already has, she replied. You're just about to catch up. The screen zoomed in on the final objective. A blinking icon appeared. Target acquired. High-value asset. The room leaned forward. Aisha's finger hovered over the control. This mission starts at 0200, she said. And when it's over, failure will no longer be an option. She turned off the screen. Darkness filled the room. And for the first time, Chief Klein understood something far more dangerous than enemy fire. He wasn't following orders from a desk officer. He was following a commander who had already won the war in her mind. 0200 hours came without ceremony. No roaring engines. No flashing lights. No dramatic countdown. Just silence. Chief Klein crouched at the edge of the ravine, night vision painting the world in shades of green. The air was thin here, sharp enough to burn the lungs if you breathed too fast. His team waited behind him, SEALs trained to move like shadows. And yet, none of this felt familiar. No birds. No drones. One operator whispered. Still feels wrong. Klein didn't answer. In his ear, Aisha's voice came through the bone conduction comm, quiet, steady, precise. Hold position, she said. Wind shift in 9 seconds. Klein frowned. He glanced at his wrist display. No weather alert. No sensor warning. 9 seconds passed. The wind changed hard. Loose gravel slid down the ravine wall where they would have been crossing. Klein exhaled slowly. Copy that, he muttered. They moved when she told them to move. Stopped when she told them to stop. Every instruction felt small, almost insignificant, but together they threaded the team through terrain that should have exposed them a dozen times over. Then it happened. A sharp click echoed in the dark.
Freeze.
One of the younger operators had shifted his weight, just an inch too far. Klein's heart slammed against his ribs. He raised a fist instantly. Too late. A low mechanical hum started beneath the rocks. Pressure sensor, someone breathed. Enemy tech.
New.
Quiet.
Deadly.
In command, miles away, Aisha's eyes locked onto the live terrain feed. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't rush. Do not move, she said calmly. Klein looked 2 meters left. There's a natural fault line. That rock isn't connected to the sensor grid. Klein scanned. Saw nothing. Trust the map, she added. He hesitated for half a second. Then he stepped exactly where she said. Nothing happened. He motioned the operator forward, guiding him inch by inch, following Aisha's voice alone. One wrong move would trigger the system. No alarms. No warning shots. Just disappearance. When the last SEAL cleared the sensor field, Klein finally allowed himself to breathe. In the silence that followed, he keyed his mic. Good call, ma'am. There was a brief pause. Not a call, Aisha replied. A calculation. They advanced again. Minutes later, distant enemy patrols passed right over the ridge above them. Never looking down. Never knowing. Klein watched their boots crunch past, close enough to hear fabric shift. And suddenly it hit him. This wasn't luck. This wasn't theory. She had anticipated every mistake, including his. As they reached Phase 1's final position, Aisha spoke again. Chief Klein, she said, earlier today, you questioned whether this briefing was serious. He stiffened. Yes, ma'am. Consider this your answer. The calm went silent. Klein looked out over the valley, the objective now in clear reach. For the first time in his career, the most dangerous person in the operation wasn't on the ground. She was the one who knew exactly where everyone would fail, and how to make sure they didn't. Phase 1 ended without a single alarm. That alone should have been impossible. Chief Klein signaled his team into cover as the valley opened beneath them, low structures carved into stone, heat signatures faint but organized. This wasn't a camp. It was a fortress pretending not to be one. In command, Aisha studied the live feed, her expression tightening for the first time that night. "They're changing patterns," she said. Faster than projected. Klein felt it too. Enemy patrols weren't random anymore. They were tightening, subtle, coordinated, intelligent. "Ma'am," he whispered, "they're hunting." "Yes," she replied calmly. "And they're doing it because you're exactly where I expected you to be." That stopped him. Before he could ask, the feed spiked, multiple heat signatures flaring to life on the ridgeline behind them. Enemy reserve unit. Klein swore under his breath. "We've got movement at our 6. They're cutting off exfil." The younger operator tensed. "Orders?" Aisha didn't hesitate. "Split the formation," she said. "Delta team holds shadow position. Alpha moves forward, now." Klein frowned. Splitting the team went against every instinct he had. "That leaves Delta exposed," he said. "Yes," Aisha answered quietly. "Which is why I'm staying with them." Klein froze. "Ma'am, command needs." "I know exactly where I need to be," she cut in, still controlled. "Execute." There was no ego in her voice. No drama. Just responsibility. Klein made the call. Alpha moved. Seconds later, the valley erupted with motion. Not gunfire, not chaos, but pressure. Lights flickered on in the fortress below. Patrols shifted upward, drawn away from Alpha's route exactly as Aisha had predicted. Delta stayed still. Invisible. Vulnerable. In command, Aisha rerouted every sensor feed, every data stream, manually overriding safeguards that would have pulled her out of the operation. A general stepped toward her. "Lieutenant Commander, you're risking the entire command network." She didn't look away from the screen. "If they see Alpha," she said, "they lose the mission. If they see me—"
She paused.
"They only see noise." On the ground, Klein watched enemy units surge past Delta's hiding place, boots inches from discovery. Then nothing. The enemy overshot. Alpha reached the inner perimeter undetected. Klein's voice came through, low and tight. "Alpha in position." Aisha allowed herself one quiet breath. "Proceed to phase 2, she said. Behind her, the generals exchanged glances. They had approved this plan, but watching it unfold was something else entirely. One of them spoke under his breath. She just bet herself instead of her people. The senior general nodded. "That," he said, "is why she outranks all of us when it matters." Back in the valley, Klein signaled his team forward, heart pounding, not from fear, but from something new.
Trust.
As they disappeared into the fortress's shadow, he keyed his mic one more time. "Ma'am," he said, voice steady, "Delta's clear. Alpha owes you." Aisha's reply was immediate. "You don't owe me anything, Chief," she said. "Just finish the mission." The channel went quiet, and for the first time that night, the enemy realized something was wrong. They had adapted, but so had she.